Welcome to the NEL Show. Welcome to today's edition. Welcome to Man, Singlehood, and the Marriage Dilemma. I am your host, Nell, and it is a pleasure to have you here. Of course, this conversation is one that is important to me and important to a lot of women as well who continue to want to understand men better and of course how to relate with them as well. I'm particularly happy about today's episode because we're bringing in Donald, and if you have never interacted with Donald before, or perhaps you have interacted with him in just your maybe movies or scripts or writings that he has, then you're going to see a different side to him today. Okay, so Jenna will be joining us now. All right. Okay. Well, from the last conversation we had with Daniel, there was just so much to learn. Daniel is single at the time of the recording, and it really shared a lot. It shared a lot to us that was very, 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 very revealing. Today, Donald will be coming in not just from the marriage perspective or sharing things that he knows in terms of, okay, Donald is here from his years of experience in marriage, but he would also be sharing from his wells of wisdom. Donald was sharing something on his page, and I found it very interesting. Okay, Donald. Hello, Donald.
Hi.
Good afternoon. I'm
Can you hear me
fine,
clearly?
Donald. Yes, very well, perfectly clearly. But yes,
I feel
if
like
you can put it this way, it's slanted. Yes, if you can just turn it, then that's totally fine. Welcome. Okay, yes, this is better.
All right.
Donald, thank you so much again for joining us. Okay, so let us get into your profile, and then, of course, as the celebrity that you are, and then straight into the conversation. Okay, Donald Tombia is a storyteller and a business expert in the media, entertainment, and technology industry. He holds a master's degree in forensic computing as a global manager of product design and solution sales for enterprise security in Tiger Logic Solutions Limited. He worked with several of Nigeria's finest C-level executives for 7 years, designing and implementing critical technology solutions and closing billion-dollar deals before transitioning into storytelling and filmmaking. Donald's passion, skill, and business savvy makes him a highly sought-after strategic thinker, storyteller, writer, and business consultant, earning him the title the Billionaire Creative. He's currently the Director of Business Innovation and Technology for the Discovery Center, Africa's foremost learning and development outfit. Donald writes for Africa's largest and longest running soap opera, Tinsel, and is one of the 2 story editors for the ongoing cult classical telenovela, Enake. He was on the writing team for the African Magic hit epic telenovela, Ajoche. His Netflix movie Strain won the Best International Film at the Urban Film Festival, Miami in 2020, amidst several other awards and nominations. Aside film and TV series, Donald tells stories via new media, that is Instagram and Facebook, where he directly interacts with the audience to feel their pulse. To date, there is handle at Donald Tombia. He has released Ameledai, The Adventures of Idara and the Magic School Bag, I Will Have an Affair, and The Maid's Tale. He's the author of How I Fasted on Christmas Day, and this is the story, and is the story editor for both Trinity and Drama Queens Comics of Revolutionary Media. Donald is happily married with 3 children. Thank you again, Donald, for choosing to do this. We're clapping for you, yes. Okay. Well, Donna, we're going to get into this, but I want to learn just a bit about you. Why are you so passionate about writing? Like NRK, and I'm going to watch the one on Netflix, just like I told you, it's such a big deal. I'm sure, and of course, with the other stories that you've written as well. What drives your passion to actually be a story? Yeah, to write this kind of stories. What inspires you? And is there a certain kind of story that you actually tend to write?
I mean, not to sound too esoteric and to say, oh, this is my inspiration or whatnot. I love telling stories just for the sake of being able to tell stories. It gives me the feeling of godlikeness. You're able to create, right? To sit down alone, blank paper, then you draft out some characters. You tell where they are going to go from point A to point B. You talk about their proclivities and what makes them tick, and then you see them on TV. And then people watch it and they have this massive emotional reaction to these things. They cry, they laugh. It's brilliant. Now, this is on just the very simplistic scale. Going beyond the simplicity, when you go into, say, the national scale, you see that storytelling has the power to change minds, has the power to influence policies, has the power to organize and guide the people towards a cause. So, for instance, there is a reason why superheroes in US are mostly dressed in blue and red. You check Captain America, check Superman, check Spider-Man. It's not by mistake.
Yeah,
Not as if they are not color.
That is true. Yes, blue and red. Yes. Oh, wow.
It does. It is fast patriotism. So months back, my wife saw this Korean drama series titled Mr. Sunshine, which was focused on their own war, where North Korea came out of the oppression of Japan, merged with America and the likes. And at the end of the 24 episodes, they were reciting the national anthem because the show inspired patriotism, right? So beyond the passion of just seeing on TV what I've created and people having this emotional response, there is that underlying belief and knowledge that propels me that on a national scale, these stories are able to push propaganda, able to push ideology, are able to push new paradigms that begin to govern the way we think. As a people, begin to govern the kind of policies that we get to set. So that's why I tell stories.
That's why. And I really want to commend you, Donald, because I mean, I know that you are a very, very, very deep Christian who believes in God and is unashamed of it. And I like how you are able to get into those spaces with your stories. Yes, I really like that. Not just say, of course, it's really great to have the writing for Christians and Christian community, but also, like I said, I like how you just go out there and you just put it there, just out in the open for anybody to be able to access it.
There's an inside joke that if Jesus were present in our time, he would be a storyteller. He would use film to reach people because the prophets of kingdom principles were told in stories. The toughest of kingdom principles in story. He knew how to weave, and this is what he did. He would weave a story that was contextual to the persons, to the people he was speaking with. So he weaves a story of farm and farmers and crops and the likes to those who can understand it. He will weave a story of traveling, right, and taking care of travelers that have passed the path where they have been attacked, to people who are travelers who understand that. So if Jesus were in our time, so there's no division between storytelling and Christianity for me. It's the same thing, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much, Donald, for giving us that inside information about you. Okay, Donald, I called you for this particular topic because you are, and it's something I typed. I'm not using it to flatter. You're actually a deep man, and I've known you for a couple of years. And anytime we just have a conversation, it's really a sermon. I'm not even joking for those who know Donald personally. And it is something to always go and think about that can definitely turn your life around. I have a whole story regarding Donald, but just to summarize it, Donald really inspired me to start my first organization ever 7 years ago. I'm a Prezi in 2014 thereabout. It really inspired me. I still remember the conversation, and I remember it because those things have grown my organizational skills that I now use for both the organizations that are founded and even other people that I consult with as well. So it's definitely someone who you want to follow. Yes, you want to follow. So, Donald, we'll start with the question of what does marriage mean to an average man, Nigerian man, African man? What does marriage mean to, in your own view?
I mean, it's a tough question because it begs for a realistic answer. It's far easier to say what marriage means to me because I represent a set of men, and then what marriage means to person. What marriage means to me, it starts from the spiritual. So marriage first is some type of union, right? It used to propagate the gospel in different ways. So now that is foundational thinking of marriage for me, right? Society, marriage is the union of two persons. Some societies are expanding their definition of marriage, who will be in it, right? But ours still have, the Nigerian society still maintains that a man and a woman come together in a union, right? And their union is recognized legally by the courts and also spiritually by the church, right? And that is the formation of the marriage. Now within the marriage, the man has the man typically runs with the notion of he is the one to provide, and by providing finance, I'm talking about providing security, I'm talking about providing clothing. The average man is unhappy if his child is to have a birthday and people bring resources for the birthday and he doesn't have to bring. Go to big guy.
Wow.
Come on, I have to because the average Nigerian man thinks in terms of provisioning, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, and I hope we get into the reason, because the truth of the matter is, on the subject of marriage, we have a lot of thoughts that are out there, but these thoughts, these ideas, these flaws, whatever they are really fruits of a root problem. And unless that root problem is known and understood, we are going to be dealing with surface level issues. Like you're going to be putting bandage on a leg that needs to be amputated. Do you understand what I mean? Yes, that's
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, definitely going to go to the reasons. I definitely would ask that question very soon. But the reason why I'm having this conversation is because a lot of women seem to, when it comes to marriage, it seems that a lot of women are ready. And this is something that I know, I'm not just trying to, it's not an assumption based on surveys and working with women. A lot of women seem to be ready for marriage, or at least are available. And it just always seems like the men are always, whether not some men, not all, are always not available, or just one story, oh, he broke up with me. There's just always one counseling or the other that one woman is coming for based on what is happening or not happening with our relationship. So, Donald, what fears do you think the average man has? One of them, from the questions that I've asked, is, money, I'm trying to gather money, Or some will say, I don't know how to cope with a woman that is not like my mother or grandmother. Well, these are some of the answers that they are giving to me. But to you now, this question to you, what are some of the fears that some of these men have that is holding them back from getting married, especially in this generation?
Okay. I mean, it's a very apt question. I have notes that are on this side, so I might be looking here from time to time. I'm not distracted. Right?
You're just looking at your notes. Okay, no problem.
I listed fears that men have, and these fears are known. So I don't want us to use the entirety of our time to look at these fears. I'll list the fears out. Fear of commitment.
Okay.
Fear of financial incapability. All right. Financial incapability is just simply I get a family and then I'm unable to financially take care of my family. Right. Some of these fears are called comparison and the like. You have fear of loss of freedom. I get married and my wife is raining on my parade, clamping down on my style. I'm able to do the things I used to do. I can hang with boys and whatnot. Right. You have the fear of loss of sense of wonder. So you are the biggest thing in my solar system, right? But then we get married and so no longer I'm able to resonate with you at that astonishing level. So you have these fears. But like I said, these fears are really fruits, right? And so to be able to combat whatever it is that holds people back from marriage or gets people into marriage and then they start having some type of issues, you need to know or be aware of what the roots are that provide this type of fruits. My coach, Mfoneko, got to teach me how to peel back layers. So when there's an issue, you peel back the layers to know what is the causative thing of the issue, because one of the primal laws that govern our universe is law of cause and effect. If I'm seeing an effect, there is a cause. So if I'm seeing a lack of commitment, there is a cause. If I'm seeing a fear of financial incapability, there is a cause. Question is, what's this cause? What's the cause? Right? Where does this all stem from? I have it there that finding the fundamental root cause is why men in Africa, and some of these reasons are going to be global, they're going to have global applications as well. Why they view marriage and responsibility the way they do it will change both the macro levels of society and then the micro level the way people think. But we have to go to the roots. So here's the roots, or one of the roots. I see two. The question you asked is fear of men. What fears men have regarding marriage that they are not voicing out. So I see two fundamental in this. One is an awareness of such fears. Now, people in this climb, men in this climb, are egoistic. Now, egoistic, not that it is bad, but why egoistic? I remember in 2019 when Coachella invited Burna Boy, right, to come play at Coachella is pretty much the biggest music event in the world, or arguably the biggest music event in the world. Now, a lot of stars, their names, there's a way, because you have a lot of stars that Coachella brings, and want to put all their names on the flyer. They do it in a graduated font manner. So Coachella runs for like 3 days. So they're going to have, say, June 12, June 13, June 14, and June 12, they have people. June 13, they have this lineup. June 14, they have this lineup. So because there are a lot of people, they write in graduated form and format. Now, when Burna Boy's name was to appear, it was in fine print, which means it was in very, very tiny font. The same thing with an Idris Elba. Although I don't know what Idris Elba was doing there. Same thing with a Wiz Khalifa. Some other person. Or Burna Boy spoke out, right? Saying, you know what? It doesn't make sense. Why is my name in this type of small print? And then you had some other persons, some other Nigerians and Africans supporting it. Now, what made him speak out? Does he have his right application? Definitely. Was it wrong for them to put his name in that format, being the one who was like the proponent of the African nation or the African continent or African people? Yes. Now, ego has its good. Ego has its application. Ego has where it thrives. where you have done the work, then you can boast in what you have done. That is ego. But ego does something to Nigerian man, which is invisible, and it's this: ego blinds us to our flaws. Ego blinds us to our flaws. This is why. This is why it's tough to criticize your boss. He has earned the right to be your boss, but they don't born you to talk anyhow now. Who you be? Who you? Ego blinds us to flaws. So even as men, so you have a lot of Nigerian men who are so egoistic that they are unaware of the flaws in their own thinking. I know, Chimamanda, she talked about the dangers of the single story, where you think in this line and you think that all you are thinking is all there is to know about a thing, but it's a very myopic way of thinking. So ego blinds us to flaws in our thinking. So out there you have a lot of ideas. So I'm saying, when you talk about men having fears, the first thing is that these men are not even aware that they have fears. They're not even aware of fears. Because when you label a problem, then you get to tackle the problem rightly. I was sick at one point. I wasn't feeling very, very okay. And so what I started doing, my guy is here. It's Xavier. You see? He has ego, but he listens, which is great. So that's my kind of role. Because if he never used to listen to pointing out his own flaws, then there will be a clash, right? Because that's what happens. You start pointing out flaws to particular men, and then they react with anger. But we'll get there. So now, first you have that because of this strong ideology on this thing, they are blind to their flaws. But then you now have the people who are aware of the flaws, but then they label it in a different form. Now, labeling is a very, very powerful tool. And when you decide to call a thing, it's a very, very powerful tool, right? Which is why, if you look at Bible history, there was a time Moses sent 12 people out to a land to go check the viability of that land, the economy of the land, the lay of the land. And the plan was to lay siege and make it theirs. 12 men. 2 of them came back and said, they all saw the same thing. They all saw giants. They also giants. That's not the debate. But what happened was that they now labeled, their reaction was labeled. One labeled it as, these are giants. They are so big, they are too hard to miss, right? These other giants really are like grasshoppers. And this labeling then affected an entire populace. And so the reaction of the populace was in tandem with the labeling they chose. So that when the government comes and says that there is a pandemic, you have people who then label it in weird ways, and they say it's not a pandemic, it's a conspiracy. And because of that labeling, they begin to act in some particular ways. And so that the man determines his flaws, but doesn't label it as flaws. What then happens is that he begins to act in some particular way. That's just the way I am. That's why a person will slap a woman, like, that's just the way, and she vexes me. Because you have labeled the reaction as disciplinary, not as violence, because the very act of beating is violence, but you don't label it as violence, you label it as disciplinary. I mean, why should they follow me to that kind of rubbish? You understand? Like, yes. One, ego blinds to flaws. 2, the labeling, a lot of men label their flaws when they realize the flaws, right? Changes the way they attend to these things. That's why you find men who will cheat, but they do not. You might think that cheating is moralistically wrong, but if I look at more, if I not build on that woman, I will not be happy with this woman. And so this cheating is the balm that ensures that I'm happy with the one I am committed to. Once I do that, then I'm good. I've given it a label that justifies it. So when you bring this in, when you say okay, in terms of flaws, what you have is one, men are blind to their flaws, right? Because of ego. And for those who are not blind to the flaws, they've given most of these flaws wrong labels. Yeah, what you have is you have a generation of people who are either blind or they are like the ostriches that put their heads in the sand, ignoring, denying the coming danger. Now, this is on the part of awareness of the fears. Then there's now the part of voicing out. And voicing out just means vulnerability. So you're talking about vulnerable as to their fears, which in most cases they are either not aware of or they have labeled wrongly. When you talk about vulnerability of man, one of the best ways to understand vulnerability of man is to go to the history of man in Nigeria. And I'll quickly just do a summary of the history. Pre-colonial times, what we had was that we had the emergence of family and economy. We had the cooperative style of economy, right? Not just Nigeria, but a lot of countries that were developing at the time had that cooperative style of economy. Now, we didn't have a legal tender at the time. So what would happen is I, as the father, I have this array of land, right? And my family tills with me. My family works with me. I am their employer. And when we have the produce, I then take the produce and exchange it with the next farm owner. If he doesn't have what I want in terms of produce, then we might probably exchange using services. I give it to other people to work on the farm to help you with the harvest. Or I give my second daughter to your fourth son. Now, this is how it used to. So you need to understand that the man at that time, the early man, was both the father, the early man in Nigeria, was both the father and the economic provider in that rounded sense. So to land it, think of the powers that your employer has over you. It determines your remuneration, determines your bonus, determines your vacation in some cases, determines the promotion, right? Determines work hours, determines
and for some people, financial stability to an extent, if they don't have like an extra source of income.
Yeah. Like if you have the type of boss that starts, your contract is 9 to 5, but your boss used to start gist by 4:55, then you have to understand that this person also controls your time. Now take that power, hold that power in your mind. Then the father is the one who is in charge of your food, your security, shelter, clothing, right? If you fight out there, you're running to your father. If there are bandits in town, your father. So he combine these two things together in one person. These two powers in one person. What you have is that you have a badass Superman. You have a man that is all-knowing, powerful. Now, this was our ancestor. So the ancestor did not have the liberty, because there was nobody at his level, did not have the liberty to come and say, there's something I don't understand. No, he must understand everything. What he says is law. He has no room for vulnerability to open up to. He has no equals. Now, this was the ancestor. This is where we come from as Nigerian men. And so imagine this type of man in early 50s into the 60s, having your grandfather, and then dealing with your grandfather in that way, in the principle of modeling, where your grandfather becomes like him, right? And then because your grandfather becomes like him, he has your father, and your father becomes like him, closing up, keeping emotions within, learning how to handle things logically, expecting to know all things at all times. He has to be the one who knows how to change a light bulb, whether or not he's good with his hands, whether or not he's a handyman. It has to be that man. It has to be the one who knows what way to turn. If something is going on with the economy, then you turn around to the father, and the father must know his responsibility. He has no one he considers equal enough for him to open up, much less his wife. Because his father did not teach him that his wife can be his equal. And so he has learned to keep things in. And so he now has another son. And then he sees his son crying. Oh God, what are you crying for? Boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. And then he gets someone beat up. He doesn't want to know why his son was beat up. You must be a man. No son of mine will be beat up outside. You go out there, you fight, you win. Do you understand? And so what we are coming from as Nigerian men is we're coming from ancestors that did not eschew vulnerability. For them, they had no equals. For them, they had no one to speak with. There were no coaches, there were no therapists. They were saddled with the ability of holding the family and when I say family, because polygamy was the order of the day. The family they were holding up at the time was a community of people. You have 16 children from 3 women. Then you have another 12 from another. But whenever it comes together, it's a full community. That's a village. And so like every father was a very village ruler, right? And this was our ancestors passing down these thoughts, these ideologies. That's why your 21st century man will not open up to you. He's not vulnerable. Even if he has fears and he knows he has fears, he's not going to say those fears that he has because you don't understand the fears. You cannot understand his fears. His father has drummed in him that he is Superman and he must be able to handle everything by himself. Do you understand? Like his father has drummed it in him, and so that the 21st century man doesn't know it, but his ancestors, the conditioning from them is causing him to act the way he acts. That's why he will not come out and say anything. That's why he will not tell you that this thing is tough. That's why he will not say the words I don't know. He will not say the words I don't know. He will not call his wife to come together, let's make equal decisions. It's not his fault, it's conditioning. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I feel like I took the question and I ran somewhere else.
No, because honestly speaking, I was already even getting theory. And Joe Weezy is saying men don't cry. That's why some of us use video games as healing therapy from heartbreak. Honestly speaking, Donald, you don't even know what you are doing here. Definitely, well, anyways, there's going to be the replay for us to just sink it in again and again. If you're not done, Donald, you can actually continue because these things you are saying, they are actually very important, taking us from the history. Because a lot of times we have these conversations here and there. Sometimes some people even miss the point. They come together and say, oh, men, let's talk. But it's something else they are saying. They are not really hitting the roots. It's just one of those nice conversations. But you are just taking us through this journey. As I was just saying, there's no day that Jonah is not going to come for a lecture. We have to organize something that is not Q&A, it's just a lecture. Exactly. But what Shade is saying is an eye-opener because it's not even a joke, Donald. You are just really taking us through these things to help us empathize and know better. But before I go on to my next question, Donald, I want to know, is there something, I know that you had to take this break, but is there some important point from your notes with what you were saying that you still need to talk about before we move to the next question based on this history? Because it's deep. It's deep. It's truly an eye-opener. Honestly speaking. Wow.
I think based on the questions, I'm able to
okay. Sorry.
Okay, let me add this, right?
Okay, cool. Move to the next question. Yes.
One of the strongest paradigms that my coach, Mfoneko, postulates is that your conditioning will beat your belief.
Wow.
Your belief. So this is where the body of Christ gets it wrong. The body of Christ thinks it's only to fixate on what a man believes and just keep drumming. But Professor Hendrik, what's his son name? Professor Hendrik, in 1 year, conducted an investigation because he was doing not investigation, a study.
Okay.
Because he was writing a book, and he interviewed close to 250 men, married men, and men in committed relationship who are Christian. These are not men who are Christian because they go to church. They are Christian because their lives revolve around the body of Christ. And what this means is that if their lives revolve around the body of Christ, it means they go for Bible study, they are in either the choir, they have study group, blah, blah, blah. All of them, all of them are cheated on their wives. All of them. All of them. Why? There are many reasons, but in line with what we're talking about, they believe in the sanctity of marriage. They believe in sanctity of marriage. There's a conditioning that stems from their histories, which they are not aware of. And that conditioning will trump their belief. That conditioning has to do with polygamy. That conditioning has to do with polygamy. Your father's father did not have one wife. In fact, if he had two, he was a Jew man. He did not do well. If he had only two wives, come on now, why? He didn't have as much resources as we had, possibly, but he had polygamy was the order of the day. Now that conditioning now seeps. Now let me tell you how important this is. Let me tell you how important this is. Now I'll use the Bible for it. I'll use Bible texts. Remember when we talked about your text, I use Bible text for to portray. Isaiah in Isaiah 55, somewhere 11. Yes, I read from the Amplified so that I like the Amplified. It adds more words to give a bit more meaning. So with my word be which goes out of my mouth, it will not return to me void, which is useless or without results, without accomplishing what I desire, and without succeeding in the matter for which I've sent it. So this is God talking about the efficacy of the word, the potency, the power of the word. And this is the word of God. It stands. Even the devil cannot stop the word of God. It's clear. It's truth, universal, continuum type truth. But then Jesus says to the Pharisees and scribes in Mark 7:13. He's talking about this Pharisees and scribes. They're talking about I think there was a mode of eating which was traditional, and Jesus' people, his disciples, were not eating in that manner. And so the Pharisees and the scribes were now concerned and asked Jesus, why don't they eat in this manner that has been prescribed by our people? And so the conversation started. And in 13, Jesus then says, so you nullify the authority of the word of God, acting as if it did not apply because of your tradition, which you have handed down through the elders. And so what Jesus was saying pretty much wasn't necessarily that your tradition will trump the word of God, but he's saying your tradition can act as a substitute to the word of God. Which means that your tradition is not necessarily something where they sit you down to teach you. Tradition is not, in our language. No. Tradition also comes by modeling. I see what my father is doing, and then I learn what my father is doing. It becomes a tradition unto me. And he's saying that thing, that conditioning, has the power to substitute the word of God in your life. And so a thing can be said to you about the word, but then your tradition, that which you are conditioned to know and act, will eat that word of God. That's why you have men who act in ways that are incongruent with the word, but incongruent with their own cultural conditioning and traditions. When you have a Christian man who who, let me take that again. Christian, that's why you will have Christian men who act in ways that are incongruent with the word, but in congruence with their own cultural conditioning and traditions. When you have a Christian man who espouses the word of God, attends church, hails pastor, lifts up holy hands, a Christian man who will beat his wife, a Christian man who will oppress his wife and by extension his family, then you need to understand that these are not biblical principles. This is not the word of God. However, he's doing that not because he necessarily believes this is the right way, but because of his conditioning. Conditioning will always trump your belief.
Oh my God. So now, so that, okay, yes, what to say is.
No.
I think you are completing. Okay,
I'm
because so the mic. Okay, so that takes me to the next question, which is because you pretty much even answered some questions here, like why do men cheat? You've answered some of these questions that I wrote down. How can men work on this conditioning? How can they work on reconditioning so that it can influence their beliefs and they can act better? How can most men do this? Because yes, we have men that have already worked on their reconditioned, have been intentional about it. But the statistics is not showing that there are so many. So we still have to put the word out there for so many other men to come and be reconditioned. What steps can you recommend?
Let me use physics to attend to this question. Like Sir Isaac Newton is famous for postulating three particular theories or laws. The first of which is this: a body at rest will remain at rest unless an outside force acts on it, right? And a body in motion will, at a constant velocity, will remain in motion unless an outside force attends to it or hits it or acts upon it. Now, in line with what we are saying, what this means is that a man will remain content with his acquired ideologies unless an external paradigm influences him. And the man will continue his relationship in a conditioned manner unless he's influenced by an external paradigm. Let me take that again. It's a bit of a mouthful. A man will remain content with his acquired ideologies, which means a man will always be okay with what he knows. If I know marriage to be this way, I know marriage to be this way. Right? And so he's content with his acquired ideology, unless an external paradigm. The paradigm is now is a way of thinking. So unless an external way of thinking then influences him, he will be content with it. He'll be content with coming up each night, going to work 9 to 5, his wife going to work 9 to 5, and coming back near the same time, and he'll be content to sit down and wait for his dinner, whether or not his wife is strong enough to cook the meal for him. He'll be content with that acquired ideology unless an external paradigm, an external way of thinking hits him. The young man who is not yet married is content with dating at random, right? Testing the water, right? He's content with that ideology unless an external paradigm hits him, right? So the question now is, what is or what could be possible?
Yes,
they all fall under one
exactly.
They all fall under one umbrella, and that umbrella is every man needs education. Every man needs it. And I don't mean, I'm not talking about education in terms of world, school. No, I'm talking about education as a man. I'm talking about education of what has informed your life up until this point. I'm talking about education in terms of what are the things that you have. on a constant daily basis, because the future will be determined by those things. Now, let me explain this. When I wanted to start driving, I had to learn how to start driving.
Okay.
I didn't just jump into a G-Wagon and just pushing it. No. I do storytelling. I didn't just pick up to say, oh my God, when I talk, people listen. So I am vast in the art of storytelling. So now let me just go tell stories. Learn how to tell stories. Yeah. If you want to know how to cook, you have to learn how to. If you want to know how to code, you have to learn how to code. If you want to know how to speak a language that is not your natural language, you learn how to speak the language. In fact, there's no such thing as natural language. It is just the language of the environment you are birthed in or you were born in, right? Because the children will learn the language at which they are spoken to. So it is now funny that everything I want to excel in life, I learn. Everything I want to excel in life, I learn. But when it comes to self and who I am, I do not stop to learn about myself. When it comes to marriage that I'm going to be in for arguably more than half of my life, I don't stop to learn about it. I don't stop to learn about how to make it work. So what happens is that I come into the relationship or the marriage as someone who has been educated in the field of engineering, but who has not been educated in the field of himself. And so I am in the marriage and I'm discovering who I am at the same time that you are discovering who you are as my spouse. I'm still having clashes. Things are having like, oh, this is how you was when we got married or before we got married. Yeah, suddenly I then realize that, you know what, I'm really not a money person. And by the fact that I'm not really not a money person, you are a morning person. You wake up in the morning and you want to be washing plates and be sitting out. I'm not really a morning person. And then we start having what I've found is that these two persons haven't taken the time to learn who they are from into this union. People rush into marriage because they tick some boxes, like actually stable or but it's not realized that there are other considerations beyond that. Other considerations beyond that. And so the all beyond, the broad umbrella as a man to depict your condition, to understand that condition is taking you to get married. Condition has taken you for 5 years. 5 years build. If you understand that it's not going to be unprecedented, the education has be an standard. But unless a man, right, learns how to shape his father, right, learn what shapes them, learn how their thoughts are going to influence their own future, learn how that makes them think the way they think. I'll give them some point of view to give an example. Now, everyone is doing fit farm. Everyone is doing fit farm, right? That thing is there's that thing of there was a period when in Nigeria, the man that does not have poor belly, never right. In your country, you don't get poor belly. Married.
Yes.
I'm looking for a problem. You have a few if you don't have problem, you have a few opportunities.
Yes.
Society affected our collective idea, and the man was taking in terms of society, right? And now, when it comes to the time to pick back, where you expect the father of 3 what God happens, right? And there's now that societal unless the man is able to know it's upsetting you or you're not helping you. Which one you need in it? Let's be able to know it yourself. Bible states in this way So unless he's able to know all these things, what happens is that he begins to shape his children, his children begin to and begins to just continue that whole cycle of ignorance and that's what a man, unless man is able to confront the truth, you understand why he's 4 years old.
Donald, I can't really hear you again. I don't know. It seems to be echoing. I don't know if it's the way the phone is placed. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, this is better now. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't even know.
Yes.
Okay, so unless a man, the man is able to confront the reality of the condition, but that makes it higher. What happens? You won't understand the 4 year old. Why 4 years you telling that daddy that's not fair? Okay, what's not fair? You understand what it means, how that can be a child. Because he has not confronted, he doesn't realize that you understand why he should allow a 4-year-old to have a Okay, give me a second. Let me
get the earpiece. Okay, no problem. Wow, oh my God, so much that was been learning. Like I'm full. Thank you so much for Shade for still staying with us.
How is this?
Okay, thank you, Akon. Okay, this seems better.
Is this good? Right? Okay.
Yes, okay, for Shade, yes, he has put his earpiece now. So just give your feedback.
You can't hear him well. How is it? Falashade, is this good? Can you guys hear me on the call?
So I can hear you.
Me say yes, you can.
Okay, yes, please let's know so that we can continue. So Falashade, please give your feedback. Okay, good. Falashade said it's better. So yeah.
It's better. Okay, cool.
All right.
Okay, so I'm saying that unless the man is able to confront the realities of his conditioning and know what has made him who he is, right, and how it causes him to think, what will happen is all these new age conversations on this is how you should raise your child and you should allow your child freedom of expression, right? You should allow. He does not understand. He might believe you when you tell him of the benefits of it. He might understand because he's logical. Might understand what the benefits of having that kind of strong child is. However, because he has not confronted the realities of his own condition, he's unable to understand. He's unable to appropriate it in his behavior because his condition will always trump his beliefs. Is the network good? I'm having a sense that there's a bit of a problem. Is it okay?
Oh, okay. Well, I can hear you. And
okay,
I heard
good.
the last
Don't worry. Okay, I'll ignore all that. It's probably in my head, right?
Okay.
I mean, just to round up this particular point, if he does not confront his conditioning, the father, the man now, will not understand what mental health is and how mental health affects his child. He will not be interested in the mental health of his child. He will not be interested in the emotional health of his child. He's not going to be interested in, he's just going to probably be interested in the physical health because that's how he was conditioned. He's going to be interested in financial health, but then the financial health, that because these are the ways he was conditioned. But then more expansive, new age form of thinking that you only get to because you have broken down the initial conditioning. When you start considering the mental health of your child, when you start considering the emotional health of your child or your spouse or even yourself, the man does not understand. Doesn't understand because he wasn't brought up to think these things as important. right? And so unless he's now able to find avenues by which he enters into the education, avenues in which he can now begin to teach himself, avenues by which he can now allow others who have gone ahead to teach him. Unless the man gets into this particular frame of mind, the cycle will continue to be perpetrated. Right? So let me quickly, because I have a sense it might be a question. Let me tell you of because when we talk about education, one is books, but I'll tell you of two forms of education, one a bit innocuous, the other one definitely need to get into it. The one you definitely need to get into is coaching. A major problem is that we have a lot because remember initially when we talked about men not opening up in terms of their vulnerability. When you have a coach, what you are saying to the world is that I have a problem and I need to go to somebody to get it fixed. And the man who has been conditioned to be a superman does not want to hear that. I work with the Director of Innovation, Business Innovation and Technology with Discovery Center, which is one of Africa's foremost learning and development center, right? Now, the lead coach is in Vulnerable. We hold programs. We started with the blueprint of how. It was targeted at women. However, we started doing other programs that were just expansive for everyone. The ratio of women to men on this program is 100 to 3. So when I have when I have on a call, when we have in a program 120 people who have been registered to establish their past and learn how to ways, right? When we have about 120 people, 117 of them are women, right? So men need to start getting into things like coaching, with coaches that are able to get you to go back into your past and break those walls that have been formed by conditioning. The other part that I want to now highlight is the role of media in shaping men in society.
Okay.
I grew up with Commando and Rambo, Chuck Norris and Jackie Chan. And so for me, if you don't have physical strength, you're not a man. They beat you on the streets after you play football, you're not a man. I grew up in the environment. After I go and watch Jackie Chan beat up people, I'll now come and play football. Right? You can't be a peace lover and be playing football. What peace are you looking for when you're playing ball? Hey, forget it. Like you can't say the truth when you're playing ball. If your opponent score a goal and you say it is a goal and you agree that it's a goal, your teammates will be upset with you. You must be willing, ready, and able to defend the fact that it's not a goal. And you must be violent and ready to fight. You must be aggressive. Right? And so I grew up on Commando, I grew up on Rambo, I grew up on Jackie Chan. These were men who were men of physical strength. Right? And this informed my thinking of what a man ought to be. A man ought to be the person who shows and displays strength, enormous strength, right? Even when I turned to books and I read William Shakespeare, The Complete Works, I read Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes, The Complete Sherlock Holmes, I read all of Enid Blyton's famous 5 Secret 7. His books portray men as poetic, portray men as artsy, portray men as smart. All that it don't work for me. It don't work for me at all. Because when I now found books on Greek mythology, talking about Theseus, Perseus, Jason and the Argonauts, Heracles, Hercules. These were men of strength. I identify with them. And I didn't know at the time, but now when I think about it, I had a particular episode where my conditioning came to bear, where I needed to impress my father. And so in my school then, before you do inter-house sports, you do heat, right? So before inter-house sports, there's heat. And so during the heat, I was not fast. I was not particular. I didn't particularly excel in any sport. I just the thing, I got it somewhere in my young mind that my father will not be happy with me. Nobody came and told me that your father will not be happy with you. But I just felt like my dad will not be happy with me. So then what I did was, I came and I lied to him. I lied to him that I had been running and they selected me to run for my house. I was going to represent my house, blue house, and blah, blah, blah. Because I knew that my dad works shift. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So I just knew that, okay, you know what? During the house, he will not be around. So I can get away with it life. Right? And then I now came back and I said, oh, somebody beat me during a race. Pick the final representatives in my house. Some came first. And so I will not be representing my house again. And I saw the disappointment in his face. And my young mind interpreted it as, hey, I'm not a man. My father does not rate me. Right? Does not regard. He would rather a son who can run and come first. Yeah? And so what then happened was that I took the lie and I now ran with the lie. And so I told him, and I came back one day and I said, oh yeah, that I actually ran in the house sports because the person who was to run was not feeling to fight, so I ran. And I won. I came first. I was meant to have a medal. And my family was celebrated it. And my dad was like, where's the medal? And yet I didn't think it was true. I didn't think to the end. I didn't think that when you win race, you will come home with medal. And so my father is like, where's the medal? And I started choking. Then I tell on that lie. And then I'm like, okay. Now what happened was that because it was somebody else I was meant to run, and I was just running for him, he gave him the medal despite the fact that I won. My dad is like, lie, that cannot happen. That he's going to school the next day to see my papa. Hey. See my life outside. I could not eat well. I could not. But thankfully, I was now able to come cry, confess to him, and blah blah blah, and whatnot. But in retrospect, when I look back to why I did what I did because one, I've been influenced to think that strength in athletics, strength in fights was the epitome of manhood, and it was the media that influenced my thinking in this direction. And in tandem with the conditioning that my father did on me. That's the thing. If nothing breaks that conditioning, now I will think that I need a show of physical strength to prove that I'm a man. That's why they say Baba with it. That's why you find men that when they want to correct their children and they flog their children, they do such physical strength that you wonder if they're trying to break the kids. Or you find men who will hit their spouses or their girlfriends to put them in line, to show you that I am a man. Media has a lot of in that. Also, there was a time in my history where all I was watching, I spent hours watching 2.5 Men in Bond, Hustle, I was now conditioned to think that the man was a suave player, and if I can talk my way out of anything, if I talk the pants out of any woman, then I put. But you get the gist. The gist is that there is a massive role that media plays with conditioning, and so when I say the man to break out of the conditioning is education, it's an all-encompassing thing. One needs to seek the knowledge. Even the Bible says that if you seek after the wisdom, more than silver and gold, keep you to serve you. You understand? So the education is all encompassing. It is you seek a coach, you seek lectures, you seek those who are knowledgeable in this art, right? And you learn from them. You go to meet those who are expert therapists in emotions, how to manage your emotions, how to transfer your energy, right? Move from a state of anger to another state without necessarily resulting in violent acts. Because energy can never be lost. Energy must always be transferred. And so if the Bible says that the droppings, the nagging of a woman like continually dropping. And so if I am angry at a time, understand that is energy. And energy doesn't get lost. And so that energy that is in form of anger needs to be translated into another form. That energy that is anger will be translated into another form. The question is that when it's going through me, what does it come out as? If I am unable to cause that transfer to be in a form that I enjoy, then I have to go and look for the person who knows how to do and learn from the person. You get my point?
Yes.
I have to seek that. I have to consciously go out and look for that I may be educated in that form and manner. And then I need to also understand the role that media plays. The role that the churches play in shaping my mind as man. If I'm aware of these things, then I can begin to be conscious about the type of education I get that fights and trumps the conditioning that I have received. Let me stop there.
Wow. Yes, you have covered so much. You have covered so much by just giving us your lecture. And me, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful about that. So let's see, because we'll be rounding up now. You already even gave the solutions, really, because I know that's one part that some men and even complain about in my interaction with them is, the religious bodies as well. What I mean religious bodies, Christians, Muslims, especially Christians and Muslims on both sides. They are not talking about this enough, and feedback from people now. There's also this patriarchal system that a lot of religious bodies push preach with. Okay, sorry about that. Helps to promote that as well. So, I asked it one question. So I would ask, what play? What role play?
I can't really hear you.
Okay.
So you're breaking.
Oh, I don't. Okay. Say something to me.
Yeah, you're breaking, okay, so I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Let me wait. Maybe for your phone too. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
It's even important. I can't go on with the questions if you can't hear me. I was asking, or just surprised, that one of the feedbacks that I've gotten in my journey of investigating these things is that bodies, Muslim Christians, have had a role and contribution as well in helping men hide how it is they feel and their responsibility, basically. So what can be done better in the religious system to work on this? You've already even given us a lot of solutions, especially personal responsibility as well. But what can the church do better? And then, is there anything women can do with men around them to also contribute to helping to shape a better man? What it is that you shared with us today.
Let me see if I get what you said properly. You talked about the religious industry and what, right? And what their contribution is. Is that what you said?
Yes. What their contribution is. Some people have complained that they are not helping matters with educating men or even trying to let them know that there is a problem. Yeah, that's what some people have complained.
Okay.
And then
so the church, again, I mean, I'm a proponent of history. The church itself has a history, right? Which ignorant of. And one of the major histories of the church is that the church was not just a spiritual actor. What I mean is that the church did not just play in the spiritual space in societies gone by. The church was like before the clergymen were not just pastors, they were philosophers and pastors, they were mathematicians and pastors. Yeah, they held positions in economy, they held positions in courts, right? So they could speak and so they could influence. So they had influence and affluence, and so they could speak at high level from both an intellectual standpoint and a spiritual standpoint. And the people were very willing to listen to the one who has one leg in the spiritual and one leg in an understanding of economic and corporate type of affairs, right? And so we have a lot of pastors who are not aware of this, and so there is just a certain fixation on just the spirituality of man and just the spiritual growth of man. And while this is the foundation, this is not what is all encompassing, right? So I was part of a particular body at the point, and one of the things I did was to write on church and the responsibility of righteousness. And so I opened it up just now. And I was looking at something about we are of Melchizedek and whatnot, which means that we are both priests and kings, and the fact that we can be professional and entrepreneurs and we can be pastors at the same time. Because what this does is that you are the pastor who is an entrepreneur. If you are the pastor who is in touch with business, then you understand how taxes affect business. You understand how policies affect economy. And so when you are praying for Nigeria, you're not just praying that the bad people will die. Your prayer is more intelligent. Your prayer is more intelligent. You understand what the building blocks of society. You understand the mind of the rulers. This is why you have church people who go on into power, and they are unintelligent people. Unintelligent people, all they know is that to God be the glory. And so the major failing of the church is that the church has separated itself from society. A major failing of the church is that the church does not understand that, or the church tells the person who is with him, who is learning under the pastor, who is learning under the pulpit, that you go out and you are a player in society, but the church does not necessarily from the pulpit teach you how you can relate to society from an economic standpoint, from a social standpoint. It's mostly just a spiritual standpoint. It's mostly just spiritual. The backbone is spiritual. The backbone is spiritual, right? in scripture to portray this particular point. For evangelism, and he sent them 2 by 2, right? And then he told them what to do. Now, the assignment on was a spiritual assignment, and the spiritual assignment was go and go and preach the gospel, right? Heal the sick, raise the dead, whatever it may be. A spiritual assignment what they were sent out for. No debate on that. However, Jesus then gave them social cues, where he said, if you get there and don't welcome, take your slippers, dust the sand off it, and whatnot. You might not have an understanding of what that means in our culture, but those were social cues for that culture. And so Jesus was not just sending them on a spiritual assignment and equipping them from a spiritual standpoint, but he was also giving them how to relate. And so there was a oh, this is how you be in tandem with the culture. This is why he said at one point, you have to see that what to God belongs to God, which means point. You relate with your government intends to relate with them, and you have an understanding of your laws, of your rights, you have an understanding of what government is all about, and then you also come to God and you have an understanding of the things that make God tick, you have an understanding of the laws of God, and you merge this together into being a total person. The church of today does not necessarily do that. You have a lot of pastors that do it, that build up this holistic man, but not many. Let me end this with this. The church now needs to operate in 5 major areas, right? To sustain, to help and build society. All right. This is a bit of a deviation from what we're saying, but once the church needs to operate as still the spiritual beacon of the people. The teenager does not want to do drugs and waste their lives. Everyone wants boundaries, but everyone wants boundaries because you understand who I am. And so you're not giving me boundaries because of some myopic thinking of yours. You're giving me boundaries because you have an understanding. And so man inherently is in a certain toss and pull with the universe in terms of he needs the universe to guide him. He needs that external guide, that spiritual guide. So the church needs to remain the spiritual beacon and compass of the church. It needs to maintain spiritual relationship with Christ. It needs to ensure that its people, the people within, the people who come in contact with its members, right, and they build their relationship with their Father. Not with the pastor, but with God. That's one. 2, the church needs to celebrate intellectual argument. You need to be able to call your pastor. You need to be able to call your pastor to a financial meeting. Your pastor will not embarrass you, right? If you want to have a talk in church, you need to be able to call architects from within your church. You need to be able to call up professionals. The church must celebrate intellectual acumen. But sometimes you find in places where you now have this type of paradigm that suggests that by the time you start working and going deeper in your profession and you don't have time to come for church programs, then you are backsliding. But the church, starting from the clergymen, the pastors, need to celebrate intellectual acumen. Your pastor cannot just be someone who just knows the Bible, because that's not the time to thrive in. When the government is talking about Twitter ban, your pastor must have enough legal understanding to speak, even if he doesn't have it in particular, because we have in the Bible where the apostle said our own thing is to do read the word and pray. So that must be able to surround himself people who are able to give him this type of information. Your pastor, the clergyman, the church must celebrate intellectual acumen. Then governmental power. I was with the president of, or the soon-to-be president of the estate surveyors and land surveyors in the country. And he was telling me about a particular place where the Catholic Church purchased just a ridiculous hectares of land, right? And how some particular primary schools are now building universities Yeah, primary secondary schools are building universities. And what this does is this. Imagine if because the rulership of a Lagos state, for instance, is directly tied to land and land ownership. I own land, I own the people. Right? Now imagine if your pastor understands this and then invest in real estate. My pastor understands this and gets the church to invest in real estate. And so within 2 decades, the church fulfills the scripture that says the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. And it's not just be mouth. It's not just be talk. Right? Governmental power. You need your pastor to understand what it means to build a society. You need your pastor to understand what budget means. You need your pastor to understand what the traffic situation means in line with the cosmopolitan nature of Lagos, so that you will not be wasting your time praying some type of prayers. So there's intelligence, because speaking of prayers, there are only just 2 types of prayers. You have the prayer in understanding or the prayer in tongues. The prayer in tongues is out of your hands. You're speaking just a language you have no understanding of. But then when you're speaking in your understanding, you try your best to make sure that it's deep understanding. Don't just pray surface level. And so the 4th one is creative representations. Right? Okay. The pastor must understand what reaches the people now. Understand that we have now moved. We're now a generation of creativity. Right? Creativity is now the order of the day. Right? And so they must be creative representatives with the church. And so understand fully well that the musicians that top billboards, they understand the sound of the times. When Olamide releases a song, you understand the sound of the generation. And that's why you invite an Olamide jam. But then your choir leader releases a song, and the only place you can jam to it is inside church.
Oh my God.
So there has to be creative representations. The churches need to go into films. The churches need to do movies, need to understand that this is rich people. You have more families that sit together on Netflix to watch a film than sit together to have Bible study. And so you cannot now be the ostrich that just dips head inside sand. You need to understand that there are cultural representation that the church needs to do. Don't just leave for Mount Zion to do films and then we now sit together and now ragging on the films that they are doing. The churches must get into creative representations. Right? Exactly. Flash, they say fashion. Exactly. I'm not a proponent of things like I understand when people label things like Christian movies, but I'm wary of labels. I'm wary of labels, right? Because sometimes labels give you the license to be lazy. Labels create your competition. And then if your competition is at this level, then once you get to this level, then you are done. But if I say I'm going into fashion, you understand? If I'm going into fashion, I'm not doing Christian fashion, I'm going into fashion. Understand, they are the they are the hackers. They are those who are up there. And so because my competition is up there, I'm not doing this. So I'm careful of labels of, say, Christian movies. Do a movie that sits with that hits all the marks of a story, right? And then send your ideology in that movie. Do you understand? And then the last part where the church now needs to pay is commercial aspects, commercial assets rather. We need money. The church needs money. Your pastor needs to be rich. Okay, your pastor needs to be rich. Your pastor is not rich. His prayer points will be affected. Poverty used to change prayer points. All right. So if the church can look at these things, the church understands that if they themselves need to fulfill these 5 quotas, then the man needs to fulfill these 5 quotas. The man needs to be a person who has a spiritual relationship with God. The man needs to have strong intellectual acumen. The man needs to understand governmental powers and how the macros of society affects. Even if he's selling Zobo on the street, he needs to have a level of understanding. Right? The man needs to understand creative representations, whether not for himself, but for his children and those around him. and then finally the man must be rich. If he's not rich, then problem day. So yes, that
Wow.
is on how the church can affect us.
That is really well done, sir, for Rashade, because I am taking notes. But then out for today, because there's no way we're not going to have you back soon. Maybe not even on this platform, but have you back like in a different dimension. The last question, twofold questions that I have to ask you, and I really thank everybody for staying through to this place. We're concluded till this time. We're concluding now. Is, do you think that everything that has to do with women today, like women, so let's say women's empowerment is not, okay. She's just, Polashadi is emphasizing the point that Donald has shared. Let's see the question. Okay, so do you think that the empowerment and putting women in the forefront today in any way, it's not a lot about personal responsibility, but I still need to know this. Is it in any way affecting the men of today? So that is one. Number two is, what can women do to help men or help build the men around them? And I don't know whether to ask. I think you've already even pretty much asked this. You've answered this question, so I may need to ask it. I wanted to ask about pay, women earning more than men. Do you think it also affects the way men think or see marriage? Like, I can't marry a woman that is earning more than me. But you've taken us down some history. So in case you have anything to add to that, I know you pretty much even answered that. But yeah, these two questions of today, feminism, women empowerment, do you think it's helped making some men shrink? And then the second question about what can women do to help, before we go to a rapid fire question.
Okay, so because I was breaking, let me repeat the questions to me. What you're asking is women empowerment, whether or not it is useful in this time, or whether or not it's affecting the men.
Yes, if it's affecting the men, because women are put in the forefront a lot at this time.
Yeah.
Is it affecting the men in any way? And then what can women do in their own communities to support the men that they have around them, whether mothers, sisters, daughters, friends, wives?
I got it. Yeah, I got it. I mean, is women empowerment affecting? Definitely, because if you're having men who are coming from an area of strength, and some of them that show of strength is in subjugation, and suddenly the oppressed is no longer oppressed. The oppressed is now either standing at the same height with you or above you. It can be jarring. So you have a lot of men who their manhood or manliness was based on their ability to. And now that that's no longer the case, in most instances, there is the supposed emasculation of the man. So is it affecting? Definitely is affecting. Should it stop? No, it should not stop, right? It should not stop, because the idea of feminism or women empowerment is not a French idea or an idea born or bettered by vengeance, right? It's an idea that is bettered on the need for equality. And you have schools of thought that because there was, if you look at capitalism economy and the history of it, you see that by the time there was a time when cooperative thinking was the way around it. So banks like Halifax in the UK was built from that cooperative standpoint. But then things started moving to the utilitarian type of thinking that talked about you have the educated ones rule over the lesser educated ones. Then you had the libertarians who are talking about the rights, right? The rights, yes, you might rule over me, but I have rights. I have rights. One group preached that your rights are tied to your obligation. Another group preached that your obligations and your rights are separate. But then you now have the new group, which is the new age one, we are the equalitarians. So under the equalitarians, you have the minority people. So you are now having the minorities now clamor for equality, right? And one of the strongest groups in the minority camp are the women. Yes. So should we have it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it affecting the men? Yes. But what should the women do? The women should continue, because man has been known to evolve. Man has been known to evolve over time, and then the evolution of this will either be that the tables turn and women will begin to rule over men and oppress men the way the histories were, or if we have this type of conversations, right, and more people have this type of conversations, and men begin to be open as to their flaws and begin to acknowledge their own wrong conditioning and begin to educate themselves, all right, what you begin to happen is that you have a strong woman has been broken, and he can embrace his vulnerability and now is empowered, and you now start having strong men and strong women put together.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, then the second question is, what can women do to help? The last question, actually, what can they do to help?
I think that's a tough question, because in some cases it's subjective to the relationship you are in, right? But right now I do think the best helping hand you can get. I do think the best helping hand you can get is the one at the end of your own hands. You are your own best help. So if the men need help, they should help themselves. They should help themselves. Let's not shift the responsibility of help to the women, right? Let's not do that. Let the men realize that they have problems and let them help themselves, right? Let them fixate on how to get better as men, how to get better as the building block of society, how to get better as the leaders of the home, and then let them go about what needs to be done, right? Let's not necessarily push, because one of the only things the woman can do, so for instance, on this type of conversation, you gain awareness. You gain awareness, you gain knowledge, and knowledge has the power to transform. And so based on your knowledge, you have this transformation, right? So the woman gets to transform based on this knowledge. However, when it comes to the help, let the men help. Let them help themselves.
So, okay, thank you so much, Donald. Thank you. Oh my God, you drank water like a number of times. We have your rapid fire question, which is like in 2 minutes. We are going to finish it. Just to learn a bit more about it, but you are supposed to answer it as fast as possible. That's the concept of the rapid fire question. Okay, so what is your favorite color?
Pink.
What's your favorite food?
Spaghetti.
What did you say? I didn't get that.
Spaghetti.
Oh, okay. What are you allergic to?
Nothing that I know of.
Okay. What is your best
Ignorance. I'm ignorant.
Ignorance. Okay. All right. What is your best movie? Your best movie.
My best movie, it changes per time, but of recent, it's Dangal. Dangal is an Indian film. I saw it like two.
Let me write it down. Because if Donald say this is the best movie, please let me just write it. Okay. What is your best book?
As a Man Thinketh. I have it here.
Okay.
As a Man Thinketh.
Oh, okay. All right. Were you born in Nigeria? Were you given birth to in Nigeria?
Yeah, I did go
there. Okay. I don't know. If you weren't born in Nigeria, the way Donald is not like that. The way he said you are Jackson, that made it fun. Okay. If you were not born in Nigeria,
Yeah.
where would you have liked to be born into? What country would you have liked to be born into?
South Korea.
Okay. All right. Gold or silver?
Gold.
Black or white?
Black.
Yellow or pink?
Pink.
What is one favorite thing about your wife?
She takes care of me too much.
Oh,
I take care of me too much.
Oh, okay. What is one of your favorite attire to wear?
What is what?
One of your favorite attire to wear.
Black round neck and black tracksuit pants. I love it.
Okay.
So comfy.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do?
Read.
Read. Okay. What do you like to do for fun?
I watch anime. Yeah, I watch that Japanese this thing, or I read. That's how I do my fun.
That's what I do. Okay. Small chops or jollof rice?
I didn't catch that. Say that again, please.
Yeah. I said small chops or jollof rice.
Jollof rice. What's small chop? Who's small chop there? Jollof rice, please.
There's some small chops. Those small chops are very okay. Fruits or vegetables?
Fruits.
Fruits. Okay. The
Fruits.
train or a ship? A train or a ship?
You said what? Train or ship? Ship.
Would you rather
You mean like
use
ship
a
on
train
water,
or,
right?
Yes, on water. Yes, water.
No.
Train or ship?
Ship. Train is like bus. I know. I'm not doing. Train is like bus. It's like bus. I'll go for ship.
Okay, that's
definitely.
Okay, the bus or an airplane?
Airplane.
Airplane. Okay, writing or speaking?
Writing.
Rain or sunshine?
Rain. I bet. I too sweat.
Okay. Audio or visual?
You said what?
Audio or visual?
Visual.
Visual. Okay. A day at the beach or a day in one of your favorite restaurants?
Restaurants. Restaurant. From there we can go to the beach. Restaurant.
No. Restaurant. Okay. All right. If you had a magic wand, what would that one thing? What would you want that? What would be that one change you would like to see in Nigeria? Okay. Let me come again. If you had a magic wand to, if you had a magic wand to change one thing in Nigeria or in the world, what would that one thing be? To change. You could change just one thing.
If I had a magic wand, what one thing do I have to change in Nigeria?
Yes, or in the world.
You have to put me in trouble. Hey, I'm not answering. Oh, Jesus. I lie. I won't answer. On June 12th, I lie.
This is our rapid fire. It just happened to be on June 12th.
If I had a magic wand, I would change the education system in Nigeria.
Right. Okay. And then the final one, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered as a man who maximizes life.
That is just straight to the point. Thank you so much, Donald, for joining us today. Thank you to everybody. You can watch the replay. It will be Sage_NEL. You can watch the replay. Please share it with as many people as possible. And please thank Donald for us. Thank him in his DM. Just thank him for just spending this time with us. I'm so grateful. Okay? All right. So see you in the next episode. Bye.